Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. The show's being recorded for Sunday, January 7th, 2024. And Happy New Year again to everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful, prosperous new year. Everybody, welcome back to the channel. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history. So for entertainment purposes only. For those of you to reach me, we always get asked, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the book a session tab. It's all very straightforward from there. Got a little bit of housekeeping this morning, a few things I just want to go over as we get into the brand new year here of 2024. First, I'd like to acknowledge that we're now starting our 4th year on YouTube. So it's been a wonderful 3 years so far. We're now starting the 4th year here in January. And again, want to thank all the wonderful contributors to the program. We hundreds of questions each week, all the thoughtful, very insightful questions that come through, all the wonderful helpers and collaborators for the channel. So again, thank you. We couldn't do it without you. And looking forward to a wonderful, now our 4th year on YouTube. So time goes very, very quickly, that's for sure. Also, we always give away a new free half-hour session, if you will, every time we reach a new level of 1,000 subscribers. So on the last show, we've actually crossed over, I think it's 43,000 subscribers now. And so on the predictions show we put out is where we crossed over and we randomly select the winner, the comments from the show where we cross over from the comments that start out the word love. That's how we know you want to be in the contest. So announcing the winner, the next free half-hour session with myself, the winner's name is Nanette Hodge 3565. And so that's NANNETTEHODGE 3565. So congratulations, Nanette. All you have to do is send a quick email to our office team, info@sterlingpsychicmedium.com, and let them know that you are the winner, your preferred name, direct phone number for the session, your preferred email address, and along with your time zone, and they'll get you all set up. So congratulations, Nanette. First winner here in 2024. Another thing, we have a few other announcements we're going to make here. Coming up now in 2024, we actually added new functionality to the website. A lot of people were requesting the ability to give gift cards and e-gift cards, electronic gift cards. So we now added that functionality to the website. We actually were careful which vendor we want to select. So now it's very easy. Go up on the website and select a gift card for a loved one if you want, or a friend, and then you can easily redeem those gift cards at checkout, when that person then books their session. So want to make that announcement that gift cards are now available. The other is that in 2024, we'll be starting kind of a new thing. We'll be starting what I call large live online reading town halls. These will be for 100 people at one time on a Zoom call. These will be paid events. They'll be very reasonable. But then what I'll do is I'll select in a live reading anywhere from 10 to maybe 20 people, something of that nature, live, to do readings on them if it's loved ones they want to have brought through or some other critical problem in their life. Probably won't do a lot of politics on those live town halls, if you will. But we're going to start that service up here. You look for the announcement. I think the first one may be in February, March here. We're getting all the technology together, but just want to kind of put it on the radar that we'll be offering these large online events now coming up, Zoom events for 100 people. And you'll look for that coming up. So we're excited to kind of bring all that to you as well. We had about 330 questions this week. For those that want to add questions, we put out a request every week on Mondays, and then it's closed down. We stop taking questions on Thursday evening, Pacific time zone. If you're looking for an easy way to get to where the community board is, just go to our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look at the YouTube tab, and when you open up that YouTube tab, you'll see a button that says community board. For some reason, some people find it hard to find the community board, so that's an easy way to do it. I think we had 330 questions this week, and my wife does go through all of them and then selects a batch of questions that she feels will be the most helpful. And of course, we go through them for you real time here. I think this week we had something like 57 questions, if I remember correctly, something of that nature. So probably a little bit longer show here today, but happy to bring that to you. And so with no further ado, let's just get going on the show for today, being recorded for Sunday, January 7th, 2024. Okay, question 57 on our countdown. Hello, Sterling and team. Under U.S. Code, Section 18, 201B, prohibits the giving or accepting of anything of value to or by a public official if the thing is given with the intent to influence an official act, or if it is received by the official in return for being influenced. Will the DOJ charge any of the Supreme Court justices with accepting bribes based on who they took money from and the cases they had before them? No, unfortunately, I don't see that happening, not for about another 1 to 2 years here until the next election cycle is over. It looks like there's going to be more legal constraints put around the Supreme Court, not just ethics guidelines, but laws and oversight. And it looks like for that one, the kind of horse is out of the barn, so to speak. They're not going to be able to do anything substantively. My team's telling me for another 1 to 2 years here until more stringent laws come into effect. So unfortunately, I don't see a lot of activity in the short term of the DOJ taking action in that area. 56, is Taylor Swift headed for an ambassador position in the future, or perhaps a position in the next administration? No, I don't see her moving into politics, but what I do see very strongly is her moving into what I'm going to call developing like schools for the arts, taking a very aggressive stance across all sorts of school, public schools, even some private schools, and developing education programs like bringing the arts overall back into schools and education. I see a lot of that, and I see here what I'll call pinch hitting every once in a while for some political causes, but I don't see her taking a position in administration or being an ambassador. No. 55, is it possible for a home to choose you? I truly feel we were meant to inhabit our current home as everything aligned perfectly. Unfortunately, a tragedy in the home resulted in the home being placed on the market. Is it possible the spirit of the previous owner had something to do with us buying the home? No, not so much the previous owner, but it's very typical for your angels and guides when you manifest clearly to put the correct opportunities in front of you. They physically create all the correct opportunities, the right house, the right real estate agent, the right funding sources. But it's really your angels and guides working with you on a universal plan that you've actually already laid out. So maybe not so much the house choosing you, but it's part of what you're manifesting clearly and what's on your life path. And I don't see it connected with the prior owner, although all of our life paths interconnect. So, obviously one event had to happen before the other. 54, I just watched the HBO 2019 documentary Kill Chain, the cyber war in America's elections. How will cyber breaches affect our 2024 election? I don't see any major cyber malware or anything of that nature or attacks necessarily on the election for 2024. I do see the federal government using blockchain technology, distributed ledger technology, to try to add redundancy to a lot of the election data. So things going on behind the scenes now, they're actually not advertising, but I do see, don't see any big cyber attack and nothing that's going to be consequential to the election in terms of somebody overtaking the election systems on the back end, if that's what this question's all about. 53. Hello, Sterling, and Happy New Year. My father works for the post office, and they work harder than any other packaging delivery companies. Yet, other companies have larger hourly pay rates for their employees. Do you see the post office raising their hourly pay rates that match UPS, which is $49 an hour? No, not for several more years, which means like 3 to 4 years here. It looks like there will be significant increases coming to the post office and postal workers, but I don't see that happening for another 3 to 4 years here. But there'll be new increased revenue sources coming into the government that'll make that possible. So a little bit of a delay here. Wish I could tell you it was faster, but they're telling me it's still several years out, but it's coming. 52. Hello, Sterling and team. Do you see any breakthroughs in the advancement of feline kidney disease and the extension of feline lifespans? Yes, definitely. Both dogs and cats will see tremendous improvements in their healthcare arising out of human healthcare in some of these areas due to CRISPR technology. So another 4 to 5 years here. Looks like some of the vaccines and treatments developed for people. There'll be some testing on animals. They'll have some drugs coming up for that. So actually, the answer here is it's really an outgrowth of CRISPR coming from human advancements that are going to move into the animal sector for cats and dogs. So very promising time we're in here right now as far as science goes in health. 51, I'm hearing more people say that there will be a health event for President Biden in April 2024, and they are alluding to it being serious and that the election is still up for grabs. What do you see? No, I don't see any significant health crisis. I see, a number of ongoing things going on. We all have issues every once in a while we have to address. I don't see a significant health crisis that was going to take him out of the race. No. Interesting enough, for 45, I see, ongoing health issues for him. But again, my team always keep telling me he will be the GOP nominee. He will not, 45 will not win the presidency. It'll actually be Biden that will win the presidency in 2024 by the popular vote, by the electoral college, any way you want to slice it and dice it. So there's some minor health events going on for both candidates, but nothing significant the way the person asked this question. 50, Happy New Year, Sterling and team. My question is about the life paths of ETs. Do they have the same 12 life paths we humans have? And if not, in what ways do theirs differ from ours? No, they don't use the same 12 principal life paths that humans have, humanity has. And I'm going to write about all this at some point coming up. I'll release a lot of this information regarding the 12 life paths. But they actually use kind of a different construct. They're measured more against their contributions to the universe around science and healing and world peace. So they have a little bit different way in which they kind of measure their life path or the life paths they're on. So it's a little different than humanity. 49. Hello, a spiritual teacher named Mattias de Stefano has a cat that protects him in other realms. Do our cats protect us when they are awake or sleeping in these other realms? No, this is not a true concept. Whoever asked the question here, I guess, regarding this person, looks like this is more of a social media thing to me than it is truth. Animals are all from the angelic realm. I talk about that all the time, and they come down with true 100% unconditional love. They're here to teach us lessons, but they don't protect us in other realms. That's really anything that has to do with other realms has a lot to do with our own spiritual teams, our birth angels, our working spiritual guides. So animals don't play that role. But in terms of whoever asked the question, this individual looks like it's more of a social media type of campaign or something going on here, wherever this is, whoever Mattias is. 48. Citadel Securities is accused of manipulating stock prices and are currently being sued by Northwest Biotherapeutics, a biotech company. Will Northwest Biotherapeutics win their lawsuit against Citadel? Yes, it appears there'll be ample evidence in this particular trial that will allow the biotech firm to win their claim. So there is something here I'm getting. There's going to be ample evidence coming forward to some sort of manipulation for entertainment purposes only. And it looks like a lot of this will come out into the public as well, the knowledge. 47, any osteoporosis cure on the horizon? Yes, within 8 years, due to new vaccines that are developed, they'll start being released within 8 years. And that's going to complement, that's going to come out of CRISPR gene editing technology. In fact, seriously, it's already being tested right now, but it's going to be about 8 years before it's released. 46, hi Sterling. Does someone who does not believe in an afterlife still go through a life review when they pass? Absolutely. Every part of humanity, everybody that's down here on the planet goes through some form of a life review when you pass on. And that's instructional and important for elevating your spirit, your soul, your energetic level, the way you grow. Everybody goes through a life review and you feel everything, all the joy, all the pain you experienced or caused other people when you were down here. They're all part of a life lesson. So it doesn't matter whether you believe in the afterlife or not. We still all go through a life review. 45, hi Sterling. In the outback of Queensland, Australia, around, this looks like Boulia, There is mysterious light that follows travelers for miles and looks like headlights in the rearview mirror. It has been dismissed by some as swamp gas. Others say it is an elemental spirit. What is it? I'm getting right away, this is an atmospheric effect. So something I do with the atmospheric conditions in that area. There could be some gases or high electrostatic electricity in that area, but I'm getting it's an atmospheric effect. It's not a supernatural, spiritual phenomenon or anything of that nature. I understand they said that it looks like it follows you. So it's still my team saying it's an atmospheric effect. 44, hello, Sterling and team. You have often said that everyone here on Earth has agreed to be here and play their part, and that when we cross over, we all have a life review. If someone is uncaring during their life, like a sociopath, is it possible for them to not feel anything during their life review? For example, if they are shown the suffering they caused, they do not feel it. No, you actually feel everything in its entirety during the life review. That's all part of it. When we move back to more of a spiritual soul entity, and you still look like yourself on the other side, I want to be clear. You don't just look like a ball of light, but you actually experience other people on the other side. You actually do go through everything that you touched, felt, helped, whatever was here on Earth. It doesn't matter what condition, what human condition you had here. If you're a sociopath, you still feel everything when you go through the life review. It's very true. Okay, 43 in the countdown. Hi, Sterling and team. You mentioned a few times now that the US will not have a recession. How about Australia? Will Australia have a deep recession and property crisis in this decade? No, I don't see a large, massive recession for Australia. I see a very slow, sluggish economy for many years here, a good 4 to 5 years here, a very sluggish economy in terms of all sorts of economic indicators in Australia. But looks like Australia really starts to turn the corner in about 4 to 5 years and really then start to accelerate. So sluggish, I don't see a crash, a big recession in Australia. But it's going to take a while for all the indicators and everybody to feel like it's coming out. So it's like a gradual increase as you start to move into 2028. So it's a gradual increase as you get towards 2028, starts to feel like everything recovers in a very nice way. 42, hello, Sterling. My question is, how is the impeachment of Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, going to go? I see him being replaced in 2025. So whether there's a lot of movement this year to try to oust him, but it's something around right around the election time or right after. It looks like he's going to get replaced. So that's what they're telling me. 41, greetings and happy New Year, Sterling and team. Are the ETs who visit us sometimes time traveling advanced humans from the future? No, not at all. This question comes up a lot. Extraterrestrials are extraterrestrials. There's actually hundreds of species, but there's about a dozen that visit Earth on a very regular basis. These are not time traveling humans from the future. No, they're actually extraterrestrials. 40, hi, Sterling and team. I went to a yard sale that was being held by a woman and her mother. I hit it off right away with the mother. It was like a special feeling connection that I got from her. When I left the sale, I cried and cried in my car. I was so overwhelmed. I don't know why, but she was special. We exchanged numbers and spoke on the phone 1 or 2 times. Months later, I went back as I saw there was another sale there. The daughter told me her mother had passed away. I'm wondering what this was about. Why was I supposed to meet her, befriend her, only to find out soon after she passed? You had a past life connection with this woman. This woman was actually your mother in another lifetime. That's why that feeling was so strong. My team's saying that you actually had a very strong past life connection with her. Congratulations. That's why you felt the loving energy. 39 is using crystals to talk or to ask the universe questions against God. No, I mean, crystals don't answer questions directly. Crystals amplify energy. Whatever energy's around, it's energy coming from your guides or angels, it's energy that you're putting out. Crystals inherently enhance energy due to their lattice structure. It's a technology. But what's interesting is that anything you do to communicate with the one source, the one force, that infinite being, that omnipresent one force, one source, that's fine. But crystals and stuff, crystals aren't the ones answering your questions. It's a connection with your guides and angels, and then acting with stewards to any other ascended master, the one source, the one force. is how the communication linkage works, according to my team. That's what they're telling me to share with you right now. 38, hi, Sterling and team. Can you please tell me what will happen to my homeland of Guyana? My family lives there, and I'm very concerned about global warming because the location is below sea level. Well, um, I think over the next few years here, the bigger concern here is with Venezuela. Looks like rich oil reserves. Looks like they're casting on Guyana here, right? Yeah, but looks like Venezuela to me is really going to be a bigger impact in terms of kind of some military problems. Um, then within a decade, yes, there's going to be some, just like a lot of climate change, global warming going on. There's going to be a sea level rise. So that's going to be an issue. But the shorter term issue here is going to be some conflicts with Venezuela over, rich oil reserves. I discussed this on some prior shows, but that's more of a short term, over the next few year kind of a problem. 37. Hi, Sterling. My question is regarding one of my dogs. As a Reiki practitioner, I surround myself with crystals in my room, and one of our fur babies, is it Inigo, is absolutely entranced by them. He guards them, lays by them, kisses them. It's truly a sight to behold. Can you tell us why he is so drawn towards them? Our other dogs could care less about them. Well, he's more in tune. This particular dog is more in tune and actually feels the loving energy being transmitted by those crystals. So this animal looks just like all animals are from the angelic realm, but you even have some variances in energetic level, even in the angelic realm for animals. So this one particular animal is a little more highly evolved than some of the other animals in your house. That's why they sense it. 36, Sterling, are past lives a part of our subconscious or a part of our DNA memory? Well, all past life information for us is stored in our core spiritual DNA. That's the soul that moves from lifetime to lifetime. Now, your consciousness, the way you connect with yourself, your soul, and other entities on the other side, that obviously is part and parcel of how you're working with your soul core spiritual DNA. So this is almost like a difference without a distinction, the way this person's asking the question. Everything is contained in your soul spiritual DNA that is you. That is what goes from lifetime to lifetime. And that is what connects to everything in the universe. So consciousness is more of a connection to anything you want to connect with on the other side, any spiritual beings, entities, the Akashic records. So a kind of a little bit different way of maybe answering the way the question was phrased. 35. Hi, Sterling and team. 7 years ago, we lost our beautiful daughter-in-law to cancer. A couple weeks after her death, a lady approached me at a shopping center and gave me a bunch of flowers, telling me she was paying it forward with a gift to a stranger. I put the flowers in my trolley, looked up, and the lady had vanished. I always felt this was a gift from my daughter-in-law. Was it? Absolutely. And what you experience is a lot of what I call earth angels. These are real people on the planet that are highly connected to the other side. So it's almost like getting a radio call from like 911. This person needs help on aisle 5. So this person was an earth angel. I just got a cold chill when I just said that. That's kind of confirmation from my team. But they heard the request, and that request is actually conveyed through your daughter-in-law. Please give this, to my relative, family member here, because they need to connect with me. So absolutely, I can confirm this was relayed through your daughter-in-law. 34, hi, Sterling and team. As one who suffers from bouts of depression and anxiety, if thoughts control reality, how do dark thoughts from mental illness trigger future personal life events? Well, it can limit your spiritual growth. Remember, free will is the component that links up with your life path and controls a number of elements, like how fast you move through your life path, you accelerate, slow down, drag your feet. What's the scale of achievement, the scope of achievement? So anything that is in your life that does not create balance will certainly, affect that. Now, you're not going to bring in dark energy, dark spirits necessarily, but it can slow down your connection with the other side. Remember, the connection with the other side, my team always tells me, is through the creative imagination channel in the brain. So those that can freely have a free and clear imagination channel, creative channel, like a lot of artists and novelists and actors, it's that channel that opens up. Now, but when you're depressed or some of that nature, that closes down that channel, or if you have high anxiety. So that's the principle really at work here. I think they said, how do dark thoughts or mental illness trigger future personal events? Well, remember, determines how fast you're moving through your life path and how easily in the scale of achievement. So, it's always a good idea to work towards balance in life. And there's a lot of ways to do that. 33, hi Sterling and wife Linda. You have indicated ETs live up to 400 years. When they die, do they instantly reincarnate to a different body? And if so, do they retain all their memories? They do. They don't reincarnate instantly. In terms of life or Earth years, no more than like 80 to 100 years, kind of very similar to human beings. But extraterrestrials are in a dimension, like a lot of our loved ones, that are moving very, very fast, faster than the speed of light. For them, it doesn't feel like 80 to 100 years. It feels much shorter, maybe a couple of years in terms of their lifespan. But they do reincarnate, and they have a choice to reincarnate. There's free will for extraterrestrials as well. I get told that all the time by my team. Everything in the universe has a component of free will, and that always kind of determines the quality and how you move through your life path blueprint. 32, hi Sterling and team, Happy New Year. You discuss pet reincarnation. So can you please ask your guys if my little pup, Gemma, is the reincarnation of my little pup, Emma, who tragically died 5 years ago? No, this is a new soul. This is a new animal soul from the same spiritual family. It's a new animal soul. It's not Gemma, but I do get, I think it was Gemma was the puppy's name, pup Gemma, is actually help bring the new dog to you. So yeah, it's interesting. They have, not every animal always comes back and reincarnates in the same family, but they do if there's a really strong need to do so. So yeah, in this particular case, you have a brand new soul from the same spiritual family. 31, hello, Sterling and your guides. Do you believe the pyramids were a source of energy or that their location across the globe were an aid to ETs making a visit to Earth? Yes, well, the pyramids were built around very strong electromagnetic energy centers on Earth. And in fact, they functioned as batteries, they store energy. They also functioned as navigation devices for a lot of extraterrestrials. So they had a number of functions, and not the least of which was storing some of the pharaohs and other leaders in that time period. And there's a lot of pathways and areas that are now coming to light as the objects that were stored beneath the pyramids. But primarily, they were energy sources, batteries, and used as navigation devices for a lot of extraterrestrials. 30, greetings. What is the future of offshore accounts in other countries that are often used to evade taxes or launder money? Will these accounts face international regulations? Will accounts have to be verified? Will governments intervene? Well, unfortunately, I don't see a big change in the management of offshore accounts for a good 3 decades. And that's because there's a lot of extremely wealthy people worldwide that are putting safeguards in place. So there's always going to be offshore entities that are going to help safeguard extremely wealthy individuals. We're talking about the top fraction of a percent of individuals in this world that have extremely high net worth. We're talking about, well, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail right now, but it's about 3 decades away before we really start seeing any meaningful changes in that area. 29, greetings and salutations, Sterling. Do you see Florida teachers ever getting tenure back? Don't know a lot about this, but I don't know, whoever asked the question, if you're asking from a short-term versus long-term perspective, I do think there was something in the news that said some teachers that Governor DeSantis went after some teachers, maybe at colleges, and took away their tenure. So I do see within a few years, those teachers getting their tenure back. Long term, it looks like, again, 4 years out, maybe 3 years out here, there'll be legislation in place that will protect the tenure of teachers. So as far as getting their tenure back, my team's saying that the ones that got it taken away recently, looks like they're going to get it back, but more like 2 years after we go through the whole election process and we're out into the new administration, the next Biden administration. So hopefully that helps. 28, greetings from Finland, Sterling and team. Finnish authorities are advising us to have at least 72 hours of home preparedness. This is, of course, due to Russia's aggression. Sterling, what does your team say about this? Will Russia attack Finland's infrastructure? Well, I do see incursions into Finland, but let me be clear here. It looks like extraneous missile fire, so it's not always maybe directly intended as missiles that go off track. So there's a bit of a conflict there. So whether it's intentional or accidental, I do see some sort of occasional Russian incursion through some rockets or missile fire that will affect some of the infrastructure. So even if it's somewhat accidental, unintentional, will affect some of the infrastructure. It's a good idea to have be prepared, just like I guess the government is warning you to have at least 72 hours of preparedness on hand. I don't see a major conflict in Finland, but it looks like there's some extraneous missile fire going on. It does look that way to me. Okay, 27 in the countdown. Hi, Sterling and team. How can one overcome fear of an ability to be free to live their lives from anxiety when there are unsupportive family members that consistently work against them by controlling every move they make through discreet manipulation? Well, the best way to do that is start out by reclaiming your power, your personal power, incrementally. So that means take the smallest steps first. If it means, telling someone that you won't be able to meet with them or you have some other things you have to attend to, but incrementally start taking back your personal power. The reason overcoming fear of inability to free live lives, yeah, it does get down to personal power. And sometimes there's even a deeper secondary level, and that's self-love. So not giving yourself the appropriate amount of love and respect to say, I have the ability and the right to reclaim my personal power. So start out small and incrementally start moving ahead. And you'll get to a place where now you start to feel more back in control, coming from a loving space, but it'll give you more control over your life. 26, hello, Sterling and team. During your 2024 predictions, you mentioned a mass shooting in Ireland. Guns aren't really accessible here. The only time we hear of a shooting, it's been because of feuding drug gangs. Ireland is very rural, and there are only a few cities where there would be a cluster of population that would lend itself to mass shootings. Is the shooting an outgrowth of a nationalist movement here? Well, it is. And that's where it looks like it's coming to me when this came up in the prediction show when I was doing that with my guides and angels. What's interesting is it looks like it may, in fact, be a homegrown weapon as well. Kind of similar to what we saw in Japan when the prime minister of Japan was unfortunately shot and killed. That was a homegrown weapon. The individual that performed that act had built that in his home. So it does look like a homegrown sort of a weapon to me when this happens. But anyway, I want everybody to be careful and just, be cognizant of everything going on around you. We all need to be worldwide now. Everybody needs to be much more aware of your surroundings and what's going on. 25. Hi, Sterling. You once said that if you hear breaking glass, but you don't see it, it means sometimes someone has broken through a portal or the veil. I asked because I have a 4-foot chandelier made of shells. It was behind me as I stood in front of my TV. I heard the most unusual sound, only to be described as a cross between shattered glass and a waterfall. I would have usually jumped up and been afraid, but strangely, I wasn't. Turning around, I thought my chandelier was damaged and would have to throw it away. Taking it down, I inspected it. Not one shell was broken or chipped. Was this my cousin who passed away that day? Only to which I found out the following day, which happened to be his past Thanksgiving Day. Yes, absolutely. This was not a portal. This was a spirit coming through, making themselves known. And it looks like it was your relative. I think you registered your cousin. Yeah, your cousin. And that's very typical that loved ones or family members will come around us right around the time of their passing, just before, sometimes right after, and make themselves known. So in your case, this is not a portal or the veil thinning necessarily, but it was a relative, your cousin, coming around to make themselves known. So congratulations that at least you're able to acknowledge it. That always helps them on the other side when you're able to acknowledge it. 24, hello, Sterling and team. Thank you for all you do. My question is about Oregon. What do you see for Oregon the next 2 years as regards to earthquakes, floods, fires, other weather events? Well, I do see over the next few years here major funding coming into Oregon, but state funding, federal funding to clean up infrastructure, homelessness. I do see a range of fires around, the Northwest here. That's true. California's going to have some fires too, but it looks like Oregon as well. It doesn't, there's some flooding, but it's more coastal flooding, kind of limited to the coast coming up on the next number of years here. And like a lot of areas of the world in a decade, you're going to see a lot of climate change, global warming effects along the coastline, with sea levels rising as much as 1 foot. This person's asking about over the next 2 years here. So I would just say I see a lot of new funding coming into Oregon that's going to help a lot of the infrastructure problems. And I guess we're asking about earthquakes, floods, fires, okay, and earthquakes. Yeah, there's going to be some northwestern region earthquakes. They'll be triggered back and forth by what's going on in California. As far as Oregon goes, it looks like some earthquakes here, 5 and level 6 as you get down to the middle of the year, and then a few more scattered next year. So it's not going to be devastating, but got a lot of earth activity here. 23, greetings to Sterling and staff. Could you tell us more about the lives needed to advance spiritually? Is there a number, or can a severely difficult life move an individual forward much quicker? Well, I mean, each lifetime we sign up for different types of life lessons. Now, I've seen by talking to my team and a lot of people on the other side that older souls sign up for much more difficult traumas. So a lot of times I'll talk with people and they've gone through extreme types of traumas, throughout their life. And I can tell they're an older soul because a lot of times the lessons they learn, they return them to humanity and teach. So you can't say move through quicker necessarily, but you do go through energetically. As you get higher and higher in the number of reincarnations, you're going from a younger soul to an older soul. You do take on more challenges. So it's kind of like moving through levels of school. Don't necessarily jump grades like going from, college to jump forward 3 levels of PhD or doctoral degree. It's a gradual process, my team's always said. Now, by the way, they was reminding me, once you get to an extremely high level, you get to, well over 1,000 lifetimes of reincarnation, you do tend to accelerate faster as you go on the other side. So they're making that distinction for me here. And certainly a lot of ascended masters have experienced that. 22, hi Sterling, was Die Glock, the Nazi bell, really a time-space travel device or machine? I get this was an anti-gravity propulsion ship, and there's a lot of anti-gravity propulsion technology on Earth right now. This is not a time-traveling ship, but it did use anti-gravity propulsion technology. So it was real, but it wasn't a time-traveling ship. 21, Happy New Year, Sterling and team. While out of my backyard garden the other day, I was visited by 2 crows. Both sat on my fence for a moment before one flew away. The one that remained looked at me and began cawing and calling. I felt the connection, so I said hello, and then it flew away. Later in the day, I spotted a black feather in my front yard. I collected, brought it inside. Was this a connection to spirit, and was the feather a gift or just a coincidence? No, this is absolutely your spiritual team trying to connect with you. Now, it's interesting. Birds are very often messengers from the other side. And I learned this, many years ago, decades ago. I experienced this. And like when you see, like, for example, mass numbers of crows visiting your backyard for no reason, these are messages. They're messengers, and these are messages from the other side of your spiritual team trying to connect with you, either bless you, send you love and light, take you out of kind of a deep state of maybe anxiety or depression, let you know things are fine. But and also will call your attention sometimes to things maybe you're not doing. If you're getting ready to make an important life decision and then you see a huge number of crows, for example, visit your backyard, then there's something there that your spiritual team wants you to kind of connect with and get and make that decision. So yeah, it happens. And it'd be all types of birds. Some people see eagles, owls, crows, other sparrows. But the example that I've seen many times is large groups of crows. 20. Hi, Sterling and team. Happy New Year, and thanks so much for all your generosity. I have a snoring husband, which impacts both our sleep and quality of life, especially when traveling. Do you ever see the discovery of a true, effective, non-invasive cure for snoring, one that actually works? I do. Within 6 years here, it looks like there's a laser surgery technique coming up, along with then another 8 to 9 years out, a gene-based editing technology that helps with that snoring condition. But it looks like there's a laser surgery technology. I know they're saying non-invasive here in the question, but looks like it'll be a very fast, rapid, easy laser surgery that won't be as invasive. So it's all coming, yeah. 19, please comment on 45's Washington, D.C. federal case with Judge Tanya Chutkin. Will the case go forward as scheduled on March 4th, 2024? I do see the case moving forward. It might get delayed by a few weeks, but it looks to me like it's going to go forward. And I've always seen my team saying it looks like that'll be one of the few cases that does come to a completion with a conviction prior to the presidential election. So it's going to go on appeal, I'm sure. They're telling me it's going to go on appeal, but it looks like that case will move forward within weeks of that March date. It does not look like it's going to get significantly delayed to me. 18 months ago, I heard you predict a major tectonic plate earthquake somewhere in the Indian Ocean. Since then, things have been happening in New Zealand and I think in Australia. I live in Bali, Indonesia, or Bali, Indonesia. I'm wondering whether that tectonic shift will affect Bali, Indonesia. I've lived here for 13 years and my only means of income is from here. Well, yeah, my guy's been talking about the tectonic plate shift in the Indian Ocean for quite some time. Even brought it up, I think, last week or the week before. And there was a resulting, large earthquake in Japan. That was a 7.5. It was a huge earthquake. Um, in terms of Bali, Indonesia, it's going to have some effect and some flooding and some, tsunamis are never minor, but there's going to be some minor tsunami effects throughout those areas. So it will be impactful. And for some reason, there's just so much activity in the Indian Ocean, the way the Earth is recalibrating, coming back to equilibrium. So looks like whoever asked the question, you'll be safe. Your income, you're going to be safe, but there's going to be some inconvenience, for a lot of areas. The infrastructure goes down, things get flooded out. Sometimes there's house rebuilding, but it looks like you're going to be okay. 17, how can we help a loved one who is going through some difficult times? Can we communicate with their guides to help them? If so, how do we do it? Well, your spiritual team connects with any spiritual team you want. It's like a universal telephone company. You can dial it up at any time you want. So your spiritual team, your angels and guides, can certainly connect with somebody else's and then elicit a request for some help, and you can certainly help them long distance. Yep. 16, hi Sterling and wonderful team. My husband Robert pet sat a dog named Rocket during the Thanksgiving week. His daily visits were solely for a 30-minute walk and return. When he returned Rocket, he noticed a sweet, friendly kitty that also lived in the apartment. He was happy to see the kitty. On his final day of walking, he was concerned that the kitty did not appear. A couple of hours later, the owner contacted him and said the neighbor who was watching the pets said the kitty was found dead. A few days later, the owner told Robert that he could no longer walk Rocket because the neighbor said he had cuts on his face. My husband was devastated. As a former detective, he thinks this was the neighbor. What happened, Sterling? Who hurt these beautiful animals? I don't get it's any fault of your husband's, but what I do get is that the kitty got out through a window or something. I don't know what's going on here. That's very unfortunate. But looks like whatever scratches were on the dog looks like they may have been caused by the cat. So I don't see your husband being, direct cause of this. 15. Hello, Sterling and team. I have read that the North Korean regime has built up its military bases and nuclear arsenal for both short and long-term range targets. Do your guides see an aggression from North Korea on South Korea within the next 5 years? I do, but it looks like it's more rocket launches that land in waterways. So I don't see land-based connection for these rockets, but these are these are meant to scare, to try to influence. But I do see some rocket attacks that look like they're in surrounding waterways. And it is over the next 5 years here. That is, we're going to see progressively more stupid interactions, if you will, from North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, I guess. So yeah, it looks like you're going to see some of that, but I don't see them falling on land specifically. 14, my father-in-law just turned 88 on Christmas Eve. He has a Roomba that we got him years ago that he used to use a lot, but has been parked in a spare bedroom for almost a year. The day before his birthday last week, it unexpectedly turned on by itself and started running. My mother-in-law, his wife, passed in 2020, and his older brother is also passed. I kind of joke that it was one of them stopping by to wish him happy birthday, was it? Yeah, absolutely. This is a way our loved ones on the other side can interact with electronic devices very, very easily. So this is a way that is very easy for them. This is a wonderful way to get your attention. A Roomba hasn't been used for quite some time. All of a sudden kicks up around your birthday. Many times I talk with individuals on the other side, and they always make a point to tell me, make sure you tell the person I'm talking to I'm going to be around for their celebration. They always want to make that happen. They want to be around the happy time. So in this case, it's absolutely the relatives. No question about it. Okay, 13 the countdown. You've mentioned that there are several portals on Earth. What happens when a human accidentally walks into one? There are many stories where people have disappeared for hours or days and suddenly reappeared in the same general area. Are these stories, I say, are these stories portal encounters? Do some people go into a portal and are not able to return? So my experience talking with a lot of my team on the other side, there are many portals. There's hundreds of portals around the planet. A lot of them are remote areas. They very infrequently do show up in homes, very infrequently. And you can walk into one, and a lot of times, missing time. I always see everyone returning from portals. I haven't ever seen anybody trapped in a portal. In fact, you kind of get turned around when you walk into a portal. You know, one of the largest ones on the planet is in Skinwalker Ranch in northern Utah. And that one you really can't walk into. It's elevated off the earth a bit. But anyway, you can walk into them accidentally. It's not a very common occurrence. If you do, you get returned, you don't get trapped. 20. Hello, Sterling. I would like to know if and when Washington State will remove 3 dams to save our failing salmon runs. I get within a year. So whether it's in this year, 2024, or next year, but it looks like there's a significant amount of money. And I don't know if this is the Snake River Dam or what this is, but looks like plans are ongoing right now with large investments. So it'd be hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe $1 billion or something. Looks like it's coming. So whoever asked the question, I see a lot of momentum behind this and already funding and laws and plans to do it. So look for it within this year. So whether they start the process, then it takes months to do it. It's coming up here. 11. Hi, Sterling, Lyndon team. On Christmas morning around 5 o'clock a.m., I heard what sounded like a door in my house close really loudly. And although I have tenants downstairs, it really sounded like it was upstairs where I live, along with my 6-year-old son. My son came to my room frightened a bit later, saying that he had seen shoes underneath his door that he assumed belonged to Santa Claus. He does have a 3-inch gap under his door. He also said he heard footsteps going up and down the hallway and asked Santa Claus to stop walking around because it was scaring him, and Santa complied. Was this all our imagination, or did we get some sort of a spirit visit Christmas morning? Yeah, this is actually one of your departed family members. It feels like it's a male, a man to me. It's a departed family member that has a fatherly energy. So this is either like a grandparent, wasn't Santa Claus, but this is a relative coming around you at a time of celebration, a holiday, to say hello. Absolutely. 10. Hi, Sterling and team. My question is on Ascended Masters. Will any of us in the far distant future become Ascended Masters when are certain souls chosen by the one source, one force to become such an entity? And what are the requirements for such a role on Earth? Did many of the famous masters ascend in prior lives a long time ago, or was it the lives they've had recorded in history? Well, here's the thing. Many ascended masters have had many lives on Earth and in many galaxies. And if you're on an ascended master life path, you already know it. So it's interesting. It's almost by having to ask the question, am I on ascended master's life path? Probably not. However, there are a lot of individuals that are ascended masters that went through a lot of life experiences to get that level, centuries, thousands of years of training to get to that point. So in some cases, millions of years. So it's not something that really, whoever's asking the question, you're not going to be on a ascended master life path, but those that are actually inherently know, believe it or not, they already know they are on that path. 9. Will the Vatican elect someone right-wing extremist to the Pope or okay? Will the Vatican elect someone right-wing after Pope Francis retires? I get it's going to be somebody more moderate or still moderate. So welcoming in all different faiths and sexual orientations. And so I'm getting somebody still moderate, not, let's say, extreme right wing, whoever asked this question. 8, hello, Sterling. I've been meditating consistently for a few years now. At first, it was my just relaxing, and eventually, I started sending messages to Gaia and my angels with my mind's eye. Recently, I started getting messages back, and I was inspired to start trying automatic typing so I could remember the messages. They come quickly and with little premeditated thought. Are the messages I'm receiving simply the result of a relaxed mind during meditation, or am I channeling the message directly, and if so, from who? Well, you're connecting directly with your birth angels and your direct spiritual working guides. So that's the team, your direct team you're connecting with. They form, they're stewards for everything else out in the universe, ascended masters, ETs, anybody you want to connect with, even taking a peek into the Akashic records. Now, one of the points I always like to make is that meditation has wonderful benefits, but you don't have to meditate to communicate with your guides and angels. And that's the beauty of us all being connected at birth with our angelic teams. Everybody's born with psychic mediumship ability. A lot of people do not develop it. They put it down in childhood at the age of 7, 8, or 9. But I encourage everybody to learn how to communicate real time without meditation, because that's the beauty and the strength a lot of times of the gift. Be able to walk through life and ask your team direct questions, get direct answers. Should I trust that person? Should I buy that car? Should I move? You'll be able to get real-time answers. And I always make the point that they'll always answer, sometimes right away, or sometimes even later on in the day. So for example, maybe you had a son, their name was Robert, and Robert passed away, and you're asking, should I move? And then later on the day, maybe around lunchtime, you're driving in your car and you see a moving truck go by that says, Robert's moving in storage. Well, there's a message, as your guides are getting a message to you that's the time to move. So my point is that I love meditation. Whoever asked this question, you are getting answers directly from your spiritual team. But it does take practice to make sure you're getting a clear flow of information and not getting sporadic information. So going a step further on this question, I always say, it's trust through validation. As you get the information, validate it, and that gives you more and more confidence in what you're getting. 7, hello and happy New Year, Sterling, and to your entire wonderful team. I'd like to ask your guides if they could help us find a middle ground with boundaries. How can one set up boundaries with others or even stand up for ourselves without feeling like we are doing something wrong by doing this? This gets back to the theme that we had earlier in this show regarding, taking back your personal power, getting back to self-love. You have to start out incrementally. So when you're taking care of yourself and giving yourself self-love, that's not being cruel to other people. So the inference in this question is, how do you establish a middle ground and boundaries? Respect, send love and light to those if you have problems around you. That always tempers the situation. But make sure you're maintaining a self-love, which means respecting yourself, your time, your energy, disciplines you have around you. And you don't have to do it. Rome wasn't built in a day. So take it incrementally, start out. The longest journey starts with the first couple of steps, but it's not an overnight thing for many people. You have to incrementally work towards it. 6, hi, Sterling and team. My mom told me that as a child in the Appalachian Mountains, that she and her grandpa used to watch white lights come up on the ground at night sometimes. This was in Wise County, Virginia. Was this a natural phenomenon or something else? This was a natural atmospheric phenomenon I'm getting, not supernatural spirits or anything of that nature, no. 5, hi, Sterling. Can you ask your guides about the mysterious island off the west coast of Ireland called High Brazel? Did this island really exist? Was there a settlement of people on it or just Irish folklore? High Brazel, it's called. I'm getting his folklore. So I'm getting it was listed on maps. So at that time, people were making maps or something at that time. So they listed it, but imaginary, it was not a real physical island. So it looks like it's got a long history of folklore here. But I'm getting it's kind of fun folklore. So I'm not getting it's a problem, but there must be some kind of nice stories or inferences around that island that people enjoy talking about. 4, the countdown. Hello, Sterling and team. I am wondering if there will ever be a hack-proof technology available to everyday internet users, since identity theft and hack sites have become all too common in our cyber world. If so, when does the team see it materializing? By 2028, that's about 4 years out from now, looks like we'll have a much more robust internet experience with a lot of blockchain technology behind it, a lot of distributed ledger technology. And there'll also be supercomputers integrated with the back end of the internet at that time, which will be able to utilize artificial intelligence to screen out spam much faster. So a lot of tools coming in. But my team's saying more full implementation, more like 2028. Three, hi Sterling. My question is, does Hawaii have someone or something protecting it from weather events or other negative events? Yes, I've always gotten that many old ancient civilizations spend a lot of time around the region of Hawaii protecting it. This goes back to Lemuria, Atlantis. There's actually a lot of different ancient civilizations, energies that still try to protect that region for some reason. So it's a blessed region of the world, like others as well. Two in the countdown. Now, so we're down to two and number one. I always take notes in advance to share with you here. So, number two, do you see anything coming up this week? I do see the Supreme Court cases deciding on whether 45 should be on the ballot, and I'm getting that they're going to make it clear that he must be on the general election ballot if he's the nominee, the GOP nominee, which he will be. But I'm getting that he'll allow the states some latitude for some reason. So on the primary ballot. So for some reason, it does not look like the Supreme Court's going to force the decision on the primary ballot, or it's going to get caught up in some legal hurdles. So in some states, looks like 45 may not be on the primary ballot, but I do see the Supreme Court saying it's got to be on the general election ballot, provided it's the GOP nominee, and I see that happening. So we'll let that play out. I also see a lot of the lower state courts right now coming up this week reviewing the immunity case. That was the one that Supreme Court pushed back to the states. That immunity case for 45, granting him immunity, will come back to the Supreme Court rather quickly, not this week, but it's going to go through some state processes first. But then I do see the Supreme Court will say that 45 is not immune from prosecution or not immune from the insurrection claims. So that's all coming up. I see a lot of activity this week. New strong storms coming to the east coast of the U.S. This weekend here. So everybody be careful, batten down the hatches, get prepared for that. And I also look for more news on the Apple antitrust case that's coming from the DOJ. I think that case is probably going to spring up over the next number of weeks, but I'm hearing more information coming up around about it. And what I'm also getting is that it's not going to break up Apple, but it's going to force Apple to share a lot of their code. So, for example, allowing other companies to have access to the Apple Watch, texting through iMessage. The DOJ is going to force Apple to have more of an open code in certain areas so that other platforms can play fairly with Apple devices. I do see that happening. So look for more news coming up in that area. And then number one in the countdown, do you have anything your guides want to share? Stand strong in your truth, know who you are, and others will follow if they are meant to be around you. Allow those that are meant for you to move away from you. Allow those that are not meant for you to move away from you and welcome in new energy for those that are meant to be with you. And that has, thematically during this show, a lot about personal power in this show, but that kind of resonates around that as well, and self-love. So wonderful spending time with you. Again, Happy New Year again to everybody, 2024. It's wonderful to be starting off the fourth year of our YouTube channel. For those who need to reach me again, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the Book a Session tab. Congratulations again to the winner of the free half-hour session. And I'm going to send you tremendous goodwill and a great deal of love and light to you and your families. Take care. I'll see you again very soon.